Okay, we are live. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. You're welcome to Opinion Sharers. My name is Paul, and I'm sorry we came back. We joined. We are starting the show tonight late because I've been having issues with my network. Anyway, I will let Village Boy introduce himself and then Timilai before we go straight to the topic.
Yeah, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am the village boy. It's a pleasure to be here again today.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for
Okay,
joining.
Timilai.
And hi everyone, thanks so much for joining, and I'm happy to be here too. My name is Timine.
Okay, so it's I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but we are not streaming live to Facebook as we used to because we heard of the news that Facebook is going to be taking down live contents after 30 days. So that's why we are, live to YouTube right now. I know it might take a while for YouTube people to get used to us coming every Saturday. But then we will get there and find a way to upload our content back on Facebook. So the topic of discussion this day is the impact of US tariff on Nigeria. I read that the federal government has set up a committee to look at the possible impact of the Trump tariff. I'm sure people in Canada are already feeling the impact of it, and I saw a video by one of the key stakeholders, the Chinese, who was making a comment about the impact of that tariff on Chinese products, and he said we don't care, And I was wondering, wow, you know, but then I'm not sure whether Nigerians can say they don't care. I was I I was listening to a master class where someone was talking about the impact of the possible impact of the tariff on Nigerian economy, especially for those who are into agro business. And I think there are small business owners who import, our gari, our organic products for mostly for the consumption of Nigerians in diaspora. So they are looking at how this might impact their business, and also I'm going to take. We're going to be talking to all of us are Nigerians, and I'm sure since you also buy Nigerian products abroad, especially food, and probably the global possible global implication of this tariff on the on everybody. So I'm going to start with the village boy. What's your perspective? Talking about maybe we should start from how it impact you as a Canadian, and then as a Nigerian or somebody who consume Nigerian products imported to Canada.
Oh, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
So that might
Uh,
not affect you then.
well, we see how that goes. Yeah, yes, the major noise about this tariff started with uh, President Trump, threatening to slam tariffs on Mexico on Canada, despite that it was an existing, you know, agreement, UMCA, USMCA, that's United States Mexico Canada Agreement, which was signed in 2019 when he was president. When he came in 2018, he started this same tariff war, and they drew his attention. Oh, there was already an agreement, not American agreement, treaty. So he said, no, that thing, that the deal was not good, that they had to renegotiate. And that was a renegotiation. The renegotiation was concluded around May 2019. Only for him to come and claim ignorant of the existence, because that time he made a lot of noise about the agreement and all that. So I think the whole thing first started with that, and for the first time again, because of not only the tariff that actually hiked the Canadians, but by referring to Canada as 54 states and calling the then Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, the 50 governor instead of a Prime Minister. So at that moment, Canadian uh, gentlemanly disposition was kind of stirred, and we said no. We're kind of rose in unison. We know this is unacceptable. This is so disrespectful. And since then, a lot of fundamental changes has occurred. I mean, for anybody who lives here, for instance, now people stop going to USA for vacation. People who are already usually these are things that people plan a year, 6 months at the minimum. They just started canceling. They stopped doing that, and there are a lot of then the Ontario Prime Minister will do me one day is okay. I'm going to slap tariff on electricity, and three states were being supplied electricity. And President was unfortunately was crying that that was unfair, that was inhumane, and this thing directly affected people. Why will Ontario, stoop so low according to his word? I said, you tackle me and I'm dabbling you. For those who understand the First Republic policy in Nigeria, and you are complaining. And they had some meetings, and while the premier they had to fly to Washington. They had some meetings and they were able to resolve that. And there has been this back and forth um since that time. You know, the impact of the tariff is felt on the street of Canada. I mean, it is there. It's palpable. Then there was also the retaliatory action. For instance, we saw on TV some uh, some liquor stores. They removed all American liquor on the shelf. They were removing and they were videoing it. So it is a case of if you do me, I do you. God no go vex. So it has direct impact on our economy, and of course that affected the stock market. Yeah, it does it affect goods coming to Canada from Nigeria? I wouldn't want to think so, because that's a different ball game altogether. Nigeria is not. I mean, Canada is not charging tariff of on Nigerian goods. Um, so I don't think it has direct impact on that. But because Nigeria export a lot to USA, the price of tariff also may create may, because our people may not be able to differentiate, may not necessarily differentiate this thing, may increase the price of Nigerian goods that are being exported out. So in that regard, uh, there could be some collateral damage for that part of those goods that are coming to Canada as well, because they might be giving us the same pricing as they are giving to USA. So we cannot completely rule that out. Just okay, goods coming to North America. So that possibility is there. But if you want to do a lot of people here, which I also am aware, they do their individual shipping, cargo. For instance, if I want to buy this, buy that, up to 10 kg, I can. We have ship agents here that they also have their people in Lagos or across Nigeria that can help you buy and source and submit to them. They ship it for you. Um, with that direct arrangement, there might be no much difference. But I would not be surprised that an average exporter in Nigeria may be giving us Canadians the same price given to those in USA. That possibility is there, because they may not be able to differentiate that. Okay, it's only USA that is charging tariff. Canada is not charging a tariff. And don't also forget that Nigerians have dealt with USA longer, much longer than they have dealt with Canadians. Because I know by the time we were living in Nigeria, for instance, you cannot even find a Canadian dollar anywhere. when you go to bank, you want to obtain draft in the Canadian dollar, it's like you are speaking Latin then. But those ones have changed now. So some may actually understand the difference, but a vast majority may not know. So on that note, the possibility of goods shipped to Nigeria to Canada from Nigeria be affected is not impossible, but ordinarily it should not have been so. That's what I would say.
All right. Thank you, sir. Timilai, seeing that our agricultural produce, like gari, yam, palm oil, you know, rice, and even beverages, Nigerian beverages are being exported to countries where a lot of Nigerians are migrated to. I mean, I've seen people celebrate about the fact that we over the years we cry that the only thing Nigeria export is been oil, but gradually there has been attention, and I'm telling you, there are a lot of young guys who are doing well in terms of importing this packaged goods, packaged farm produce. And I'm sure Nigeria is beginning to make money from it. When you go to the airport, they will charge you if they suspect that you are importing those things in quantities that are probably more than something you want to consume alone. If I learned that maybe that might be extortion, even when you have it in small quantity now, so they want you to pay for it. Now, what do you think this would mean to our celebrated group? I mean, food items, especially abroad.
Thank you very much. And I will be specifically talking about the US, how our goods go to the US, and how the impact could be felt. So it's a two-way street. First, it affects the people that are buying. If you look at the people that are buying from the US, especially goods that are coming from Nigeria, they are mostly Africans, mostly Nigerians. Now I see that some people also outside from different races, they are now trying to, say, let me try this. I've met a couple of people in the African store almost every time I go. I see people say, oh, let me try this. I hear this is good. I want to try it. And that's also a possibility in the US. If it happens here in Canada, it could be happening in the US. Now, what that means is that if the goods are being tariffed, they will come at a more expensive prices. They will cost more, simply put. And also, it depends on the percentage of the tariff that's placed on Nigerian goods and that's placed on Ghanaian and other African goods. So that will create unnecessary competition. So there will be this competition, or already the palm oil that we take here, the yam that we buy here, even though some come from Nigeria, mostly are from Ghana, and that's the truth. Palm oil, except for maybe the banga palm oil that we get here, that is from Nigeria. All other types of palm oil or yam, they are from Ghana. In fact, many
Let,
things.
let, let me quickly correct that. There's a trick there. It's cheaper to send goods from Ghana. Most of those goods that are sent from Ghana are actually Nigerian goods. So people take them by road to Ghana to ship them to Nigeria. I mean to Canada. So it's not all of them are actually made in Ghana. Let me
Okay,
quickly
that
add that.
that's good, and that creates a room for another discussion of where does the money actually go, because to ship something out of Ghana or even out of Nigeria, you have to pay money to the border. So now all of the revenues that's supposed to come to Nigeria from that aspect goes to Ghana. That's one thing. So but individually, the shipper is getting money, right? The person that is shipping that good is getting money individually, but does the money translate to the Nigerian economy in terms of revenue for the state? I don't know. I can't talk about that, right? So, but what I'm trying to say is that there will be a kind of competition. And also, there are so many goods coming from other parts of the world. Now that Trump is tariffing everybody, it now depends on how much tariff is being placed on your country. So many goods are coming from other places, and that builds up an idea of competition, like which one is cheaper to get now. The truth is, most of the things we buy here, maybe it's Bonvita or Milo, there is hot chocolate here too that people can buy. All right. Whether it's peak milk that they are importing from Nigeria, there is also carnation and there is no name milk here too. If it is cheaper to buy here, why should I then go for Nigerian goods that are coming from Nigeria? If you understand what I mean. So if the tariff, if the impact of tariff comes on the price of the goods, then I start doing my comparative study. If one tin of milk in Canada or in the US is $1 or $2.50, and at the end of the day, the dollar amount I'm paying for that same amount of milk coming from Nigeria, that same quantity coming from Nigeria, people will forget about taste bud when it comes to much expensive, too expensive for them. And you see that it's $3, then it makes sense, financial sense for me to go for the $2.50. So that's the impact that we see would directly happen to both the buyer and the seller, that is someone shipping from Nigeria. Now, I mentioned something about border services and the money generated from shipments. So, if goods leave Nigerian border to the US, and now it's based on demand. So, supply is determined by how much you get, how much people are asking for. So if Nigerians abroad or other people or other nationalities in the US, they are no longer requesting for as much products as they were requesting before, that means that this thing will come down, right? The rate at which people ship things will come down, and then it goes down to how much is Nigeria making from it. So it directly affects the shipper who is in Nigeria, and then affects the state, which is Nigeria, eventually.
Okay, thank you. That's a beautiful analysis. Now, what I'm reading is that this is just a payback to the ban that Nigeria placed on some American products that comes to Nigeria. Okay. Now, this might be wrong, but that's what I'm getting. That Nigeria actually placed a ban on some, agricultural produce, pharmaceutical beverages, and some other consumer products that Nigeria banned. And don't forget that a few years ago, Nigeria actually banned some products from being imported to Nigeria. And so I don't. Maybe this is just a payback. What's your take on this, both of you?
Uh, okay, let
Maybe.
me let me allow daddy to go, right?
Yeah, yeah, but
Agbalo síwájú.
You see, well, that's one aspect. There's another aspect that's regularly gale. So it's only it depends on the one we want to take. Anyway, I think yes, payback. What can easily say it is. What can say no, it doesn't really make sense, because the truth is that what President Trump is doing is very, very unusual, and it's very provocative. And the question is, like, if you are talking about being paid back, what has Canada done to US? We have been very consistent, very respectful of the US. We accept the fact that USA is a bigger economy,
And
they're bigger than
supportive.
us, and we are very supportive. We are very
Yeah.
cooperative. So what? I mean, most of the thing that he was even saying, if you look at the ridiculous formula they are using to do this calculation, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Now
Uh,
the economy is 10 times bigger than Canada, meaning that what 10 people can buy and what one person can sell. So if we are buying more, if Canada is buying more from US that is 10 times bigger than us, does that even make sense? It's just like you are saying that you have 10 people in the house. Me, I'm one person. I am selling rice. You come to buy rice from me, right? Individually. And you are now saying that I should also buy Indomie from 10 people for only me. Even if I do, it means that if I buy today, I will not buy it until the next 10 months, right? So, and there are some of these things that they don't even have that we have. They come to take it. So, if you want to use the way he has dealt with Canada as a benchmark, you cannot say it's a matter of retaliation, because it doesn't make sense. And now is for a long time, USA were going to China to produce because of cheaper labor. In fact, most US companies, this not only they go to Cambodia, they go to which is the other country, they go to all these
Vietnam.
Vietnam, they go to all these Asian
Mm.
countries where labor is cheaper
Yeah.
to go and produce. So they are getting value. It was even their own people that are taking this job outside because they want to
Of
maximize
course.
profit. And they come, they
The
bring
clothing the clothing business in Bangladesh is
the
is largely owned by Americans.
Yeah.
exactly. And why did they do that? Because of cheap labor. So that when they bring the
Cheap
goods
labor,
back,
yeah.
now they get a higher margin. So why are you blaming those countries for it? Why are you blaming the world for it? So instead of calling their entrepreneurs to a room and say, look, hey, how do we go about this? It's just using political fiat to bully everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to do with any retaliation. And when the analysis of this is like, I don't know about St. John, but we are beginning to see some development in Calgary, for instance, now because the population of Nigerians are growing. If you go to superstore now, they are breaking bread, which they call Lagos bread. They would have called it agege because that, but there was already a Nigerian who's already making agege bread. So if you go to superstore now, it used to be only plantain that you can buy. But all other things, there are a lot of Nigerian stuff there. Even they are even selling pomona now in superstore. And of course, they have economy of scale. So if you go and buy the same goods in superstore, Nigerian goods in superstore, it will be likely be cheaper than when you go to Africa store
Right.
because of the economy of scale. In fact, when you go, if you enter some superstore in Nigeria, in Canada, I mean Calgary today, if you stay longer, you will almost hear them play Nigerian music. They will play Davido, they will play Bonnie, Burna Boy. They started doing all those songs. They recognize that okay, the population of these guys are growing here, so they are stocking some of these our goods in superstore, in other store within here. So
Mm.
and that is creating a new dynamics.
Yeah.
So when you go there, I mean, when you go to maybe Nigerian store, you are buying agege bread for maybe 5 naira. This guy might say, okay, come and pay 3 naira 20. And what they do is just to maybe do their own research, know the kind of how we like our own bread, and they are producing it to that.
Yeah.
Even before then, there was one. There's also one Filipino something here. There's a bakery that's also producing a similar to agege bread. And so, as the population is growing, some of these goods are filtering gradually into these bigger stores, and they are
Mm.
cheaper. They are cheaper. You can see Nigerian milk. You can see um, Martina. Is it Martina? Yeah,
Yeah.
Martina especially. You see it all over. Though
Yeah,
some of them
very
also
good.
come through Mexico anyway. So
But,
you see,
virtually all the major beverages you can see in
uh,
across the world, including Dubai, Abu Dhabi, even as far back as 3, 4 years ago.
so if you go to most African store, though I mean there are some Ghanaian store, there are some Sierra Leone store, but we still have more of Nigerian store here. So
Yeah.
any of these goods now that they know that is popular with Nigeria, when these bigger store are trying to sell them, they sell them cheaper
Mm.
because they can buy in bulk. Unlike maybe an individual shipper who bring in a container. This guy can bring 10 containers. So they can achieve economy of scale. So I mean that has happened in Calgary because of the population growth of Nigerian. So it may not be so at your own end. Maybe gradually it may get to there. Or maybe, okay, if they discover that, okay, um, if we get this, we have some sizable population of Nigeria in St. John, for instance, they may try to be sending those things there. So you will now see that when you get it in those established store, it's cheaper than when you go and buy it, the same product in African store,
Mm-hmm.
because they have to carry higher overheads and all that. So a lot of dynamics, a lot of things are changing. The environment is beginning to recognize, and I can imagine if it is happening in Calgary, it should be better in Toronto because they have more. I mean, Nigeria. I mean, we have most Nigerian is still in Toronto, in Ontario environment than
Yeah.
in Calgary. But I think after Toronto, the next, I think Calgary is the second, number two now of Nigerian population. So we are beginning to see the benefit of that. The the recognition is becoming more visible and all that.
All right, sir. Tim Lane,
So
yeah, what's your response to the? I
yeah,
know
I
you
would.
wanted to talk earlier.
Yes, I would just corroborate the village boys' opinion because it's just the truth. Honestly, there is nothing retaliatory about those tariffs. They are just political. I wouldn't even call it strategy because it's not strategic enough. Because it's just a way of communicating his political belief that America first, and he's taking it to the extreme, honestly, because it's creating more
Mm,
enemies than friends for America. I've said it many in many places that I have engaged people in this kind of conversations, that what Trump is doing to the US is gathering enemies against the US. And eventually, what will happen is only a selected few will get rich, and the country after Trump would never be the same, especially in terms of relationship with other nations. And I would like to highlight one specific thing that the village boy mentioned that I wanted to talk about. It was the formula used to calculate all of these tariffs. It's insanely I don't know how to the right noun to use to describe it, but for sure an adjective is that it's insane, honestly, because it's even I have seen a lot of professors of economics, come online on Twitter, on Facebook to say this is rubbish. Like it does not. I belong to a PhD group on Reddit that analyzed that and said it will not even go through reviewer one that is the nicest for this kind of formula to be approved. The formula itself is faulty, and the Bible says that if the foundations are faulty, what would the righteous do? So there is no basis for which that can stand. That so they are just making up numbers just to say, oh, they have done this to us, so let's get back at them, because that was essentially what his campaign was about. Like, we are going to come against everyone that is against America, the traitors, the this and that. That's the words
mm,
they use.
mm,
And i
mm.
and i see a certain politician in Canada, treading the same path before he came back to his senses and, like, okay, it's Canada first before we kind of mimic what is happening in the US. And like the village boy said, many things are happening in our stores today. Like in St. John's, nobody wants. We check everything now. We check everything if it's made in Canada or made in the US. If it's not made in the if it's not made in Canada, then it could be made anywhere else but US before I buy it. And then you will go to yes, you will go to the store and you will see everything made in the US is full on the shelf. At some point, some people are actually moving it away from their shelves. They are taking it away from their shelves. So what that means is that Canada, the people producing in Canada, in the US, will feel it eventually. Imagine if everybody does this. If the way Canada is treating it now, if everybody treats it that same way, everybody else in the world, I know for sure that Chinese people are taking it the same way. Mexicans are taking it the same way. I don't know of every other
Mm,
nation, but these three countries, because they were the face of the tariff at the beginning. So if everybody is doing it this
mm,
way, what will remain of the US in terms of exports? Really, what will remain of them? So what they are trying to say is that, oh, if we tariff other nations, then people are forced to buy the US. If you buy products made in the US, do you you will buy it, but you don't have anything to export, right? You will buy it, so it's sufficient for you, but you don't have anything to export because people are not requesting. Like I said the other time, it's a matter of demand and supply. If people are not demanding your products, then so be it. So you just produce for yourself, so you remain a self-sustaining system. But if there is no net export, then there is really no way to strengthen your currency, and that's one of the impact it's going to have on Nigeria as well. So the currency strengthening process that Tinubu says is doing, that is doing, is going to be impacted by this, because if we are if we are exporting to a lot of places, US remains the number one because that's where Nigerians desire to travel to. That's where Nigerians are. So if those people in the US are not requesting a lot of our products from Nigeria, then that becomes a problem for the currency as well, because those are the ways we strengthen the currency. So it's just multifaceted. Trump is just, I don't know, maybe I should call him delusional, or maybe it's just he wrote something on Twitter yesterday. He said stocks are going down, which is supposed to be a concern for him. Then he said it's time to buy, time to invest in the US. Can you imagine? So so it's like conflicting. It's conflicting. You are the one that caused this problem in the first place, so you are trying to see the positive out of it. I don't know, maybe it's trying to communicate the positive out of it. People will keep buying stocks because at an all-time low now, at least for the past 10 years. I think this is the lowest it has been. Stocks have been, so people will be motivated to buy, but to what end?
Hmm. Thank you, Timlay. Thank you, Dr. Bolu. So what I did was I quickly asked ChatGPT to help me analyze what is possible reason for this, or to what end, which is the question I'm going to ask both of you. To what end? What do you think America or President Donald Trump is trying to achieve? Because this is a multi-country tariff. You are going to probably make enemy with Canada, make with Mexico. These are your closest neighbors, and then China. I heard that China is saying they are banning a lot of the Hollywood movies. So this is going beyond money. It's now cultural. And they might say it doesn't matter, but the truth is that China has over 1.4 billion people. Imagine that. So even if 10% of them are patronizing Bollywood, it's a lot. There's only India has such population again after China. Anyway, now our own small Nigeria, which we are trying to package our own. And fortunately, most of the people that are buying are also Nigerians. So and the question that I'm asking, ChatGPT said number one is to protect domestic industries. I mean, do they even produce some of the things that we import? Like our jollof rice, our gari, our cocoa and yam. Do you understand? So and then reduce trade deficit. It's not as if they are producing it and we are competing with them. Anyway, I leave both of you to shed your own light on it. To what end, in the mind of President Donald Trump? And then maybe the following question would be, what can we do, as Nigerians? And then what do you expect the Nigerian government to do? I learned they've set up a committee to review the implication, but then to what to do. Let's start with the young boy, the young guy today, this time around, Tim Lane,
Okay,
so
thank
that
you very
Baba will
much.
come as the Egun
Ebola.
Latin in Chicken.
Kẹ́yìn ìgbàlẹ̀. So yes, thank you very much. I think I sort of went into it a little bit, like what end is number one. It's purely political, and so if I want to, there is a difference between making insinuations and going by what Trump himself said. So facts of what Trump said is that, like what you said, ChatGPT is correct. Is to bridge all those gaps, trade gaps or deficit. And number one, and number two, is that he wants to make America first. He wants to make America great again. He wants to the so-called traitors and the so-called people that have been plundering the country. He wants them, to pay back. Like he said it's a retaliatory tariff. So a lot of things. So what he's trying to do is just from his words direct now is that he wants to make America first. He wants to make America to be an icon that it used to be. He wants to strengthen the currency. He wants to strengthen the economy, and he wants to make America the best it could have ever been in the past years. But these are my insinuations. Those are what he said. But these are my insinuations. First, is that it is political. He probably wants to make his name, I don't know, one way or the other. There is a way you put your name in history. Like this, the first president to do this, the president that did this, the president that did that. That's what I feel like Trump is doing, just to separate himself from previous president, because he has indirectly alluded to this many times on Twitter. It would be like, no president in the history of this country has ever, and I am bold enough to do this. So that, I think, is a self I don't know how to say this now. He's trying to place himself in a certain way, such that maybe years to come, whether it's for good or bad, I don't know. It's there for us to find out. We'll go spare our lives to see what's gonna happen in the US in the coming years. But I believe that he's trying to put himself aside, just to make himself unique from every other president. He calls himself an unusual president anyways. So that's what he wants people to believe. And he keeps talking about that over and over again. I know he talks from both sides of his mouth. He keeps talking about that he is an unusual president and he wants to be different from every other president. And number two, it could also be that the people advising him are, I don't know. It has to be his ideology, but it could also be because most of the people that are on his team, people that are supporting him, they are the billionaires of the US. And from what I said the other time, this tariff is going to have two implications: create more enemies for the US and make some few people richer than they were. So it is possible that this is their idea of, this is what we can get from this country. Donald Trump has only one more term to spend at the Oval Office, and this is their only time to take whatever they want to take. Because, like I said, like we know, I didn't say that earlier, but like we know, the Democrats, so to say, they are like socialist, populist, kind of ideologically. That's what they believe in. Make everything available for everybody. To what end, I don't know, because I know Village Boy is going to challenge me on that. I don't know. But these ones, they want to industrialize the US more. And what that means is that people that are already in that space, they get where they are. They get to, if local companies, if manufacturing companies, if they are helped, if Americans are motivated to buy more locally than import, then that means some people will get more money. And again, now that stocks are at an all-time low, somebody like me, or like the Village Boy, or like yourself, you might want to buy some stocks, and maybe what you can afford is $200 or $500 or $1,000 or maximum $10,000. But there are some people that can go in and invest $1 billion. And you know what that means? That the more investment you attract, the more stocks are, engineered to go up. And when that happens, they can cash out anytime. So people can actually engineer economy, locally. And I believe this could be one of the plots. But these are my insinuations. But the fact from Trump's mouth himself is that he wants to make America great again, and he wants to be an unusual president. Thank you. I think you mentioned something about a follow-up question.
So what will the government do? What should
Yes.
the government of Nigeria do?
Yes, I think the Nigerian government is doing the right.
Let's reserve that one.
Okay.
Let's reserve that one after this.
Okay.
Okay. So what is this guy trying to do? Sometimes the actions speak louder than the voice.
Yeah.
And one of the
Meanwhile, I wanted to say that probably the Village Boys Party. So if you were to be in the US, I would have said
Yeah,
yes,
they have the same ideology. Yeah.
Yes,
His party and
Exactly.
I
Ori
am
ẹ pé,
conservative.
I didn't want that to come out from my mouth.
No,
Thank you,
don't worry.
Timothy.
Say it. I am conservative, known and unashamedly conservative. But you will discover that the only thing that make Donald Trump a conservative, maybe it's because he's a millionaire, he's a capitalist. He's not following conservative principle because you look at most of the statistics he's quoting, they are not true.
yeah, lies.
Me, that's not the way of conservatives. We
Ah,
deal with facts.
you
We
say so,
deal
sir.
with we deal with fiscal discipline. And economy. Me as an accountant, I know that double entry principle is what I was training. There's a giver, there's a receiver, and in double entry principle, there must be a balance between a giver, the debit and the credit. So I'm a debit and credit person. So we need that whatever. And that gives accountability. So if I'm making something, I should not make something up that I cannot defend. There must be evidence. Okay, if I say I gave you $10,000, that's from my end. You should be able to acknowledge that you received $10,000. If you don't acknowledge that you received $10,000 and I'm still claiming that I gave you $10,000, there is a problem. That's not the way. As an accountant, that's not the way I would think, because most of the things this guy will say, when you go and fact check, they are not true. So when it is not true, I cannot work with it. Yes, the fact that he contested under the Republican, which he literally bullied himself into, doesn't make that I align with his principle. I don't agree with him, but I will still make conservatives because I believe in physical discipline. I've been preaching messages on cash flow for a while now. So you don't just spend anyhow. That is the thing. You are not supposed to be spending anyhow. You build your economy, you have to be frugal. Those are the principles of conservatism. But that's not what he's doing. What he's doing now is like he is creating chaos. And the truth is that USA economy strength is exaggerated. They don't have the strength he's trying to portray. Now, okay, you are pushing away so-called undocumented immigrants. These are the people that are working on the farms. The local industry that you even want to promote, they can't pay an average American very well. They don't want to pay that higher wage. Even many so-called Americans, they don't even want to work in those places. They consider those kind of jobs as belittling to them. They don't want to do it. So you are hurting your economy by most of this action. So and when you are hurting your economy, so how does the country become great? It doesn't make sense. Many of them are already groaning. Many people say, look, farmers could not get people to work on their farm because these guys from Mexico, some will just come, work for 4 months or 5 months and go back, and will be flexing in their country because of this thing. These are the people that make the country great. The laborers, the people that are paid minimum wage, they are the one doing the work. When you talk about stock is artificial. I can create a scenario today, the price of stock can go up without any fundamentals. If somebody come and draw, if I'm up that, if somebody bring billion to come and want 2 billion to go and buy stocks, the next moment, because somebody is mopping it, everybody is looking for the remaining. When it becomes scarce, the price will go up. But that is not the true value of the economy. What does it cost to produce a bar of chocolate? If you have a chocolate factory in USA, they don't have cocoa. You have to bring the cocoa from West Africa. So now what we can do, let me know before I get to emotional. What you can do is, like, we have been advocating this in Nigeria for a long time. What stops Nigerians from producing their own chocolate? Why must I be traveling to Nigeria and I stop by at Amsterdam and I'm packing chocolate as if this thing to go and give to people in Nigeria. But what does the cocoa that we grow in our farm? If we are going to export, why don't we change it to cocoa butter at the minimum? So why can't they produce cocoa tea? Even Ghana does that. I mean, I see. I know some company are trying to do that in Nigeria now. But if I go to Ghana's shop and I buy raw cocoa tea, very bitter, very mean, undiluted, why can't they be exporting that in Nigeria, in Ghana, and Ivory Coast? Why not? Why must we be sending out raw cocoa? It doesn't make sense. So it is also an opportunity for us to look inward. We'll be talking of diversification of economy in Nigeria for the past 30, 40 years, but we have never done it because there's petrol money. Even at the time that people are thinking of shutting down fossil fuel, that's the time we're celebrating the biggest refinery in Nigeria. It's like we are awkward. I mean, like I said, we are running fast in the wrong direction. I mean, this one day we don't have so Nigeria government is not about setting up committee. To me, I'm sorry, I've been old enough to know that when Nigeria set up a committee, it means they don't want to do anything. They don't want to do anything because committee will not do anything. They will just talk, 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 spend our money again, and no action. We have ministries, we have MDAs that are in charge of all these things. What are they doing? We have refineries that are not working for close to over 10 years, but they are collecting salary and they are even sending workers to abroad to go and do training. To do training for what? So let's not go into our own dynamics. It will spoil the show. The truth is that if you want to take advantage, we can look inward. We have population. Our population should be to our advantage as Nigeria. And if you go to, I observe this a lot. If you go to Kiari, you go to all these markets, okay, Suna and all those things in Lagos, you see trailers from West African countries coming to pack goods in Lagos, PZ goods, all these goods. Those are the kind of thing we should be able to expand. We can just the way US is dominating. I tell people that the way US is dominating Canada, that's how we should be dominating the entire West Africa because we have the population, but we are not serious. I learned now they were celebrating that a Malaysian investors they came to they see Delta State now and they are establishing palm fruit farm and empowering people with billions and they are clapping, they are celebrating. These are the people who came to Benin to take palm fruit in the 60s and they stole that thing from us and they overtook us. They are now coming back to empower us. Something that originally belonged to us. No, we have so many opportunities. I mean, we are the dominant farmers or cocoa farmers in Ghana up until 1969. And that is why they drove us Nigeria away from Ghana in 1969. And when people talk about Ghana must go, I say we are not the first, so they did it to us. They did it to us in 1969. They chased our people from their cocoa farm. Many of them did not return to Nigeria. They went to Cote d'Ivoire. That is why you see a large population of Nigeria in Abidjan today. Most of those people are the people that are chased away from cocoa farm in Ghana that moved to Abidjan. So you see cocoa farm now. they are growing with people don't they are everybody most young people who are looking for 2K or just 2K everywhere. Their great grandfather has cocoa farm, good cocoa farm that they can just go and upgrade with improved seedlings, and they will be multimillionaire. But they are there, either trying to looking for how to do Yahoo, or they are doing they want to be doing this. So this is an opportunity for us to do things, not just setting up committee. I don't think setting up committee is going to solve the problem for us. We can respond to it and say, okay, it is time to build our economy in such a way that even we can service the whole of Africa. We don't have to look for to US to import anything. If we don't import to anything to USA, we should still be able to survive because we have the population. We can service the whole Africa. Let us start looking inward. So why must we be importing? We will sell cheap cocoa and we will be importing expensive chocolate. It is not mean that you be going home and be buying chocolate from Amsterdam to take to Nigeria. It is mean that you go home and when I'm coming, I should pack chocolate to bring here. So it is an opportunity for us for backward integration of our economy if you want to take. But if you are setting up committee will stay 3 months, Abi, or 6 months. When they produce their report, you will send another committee to review the report for another 3 or 6 months. Before you then you will produce white paper. Before you know it, even Donald Trump tenure has finished. What are we Okay, I'm very sarcastic here now. But I don't think it's an issue of committee. We can respond. You see, private investors, private business owners can respond to this. Why not create a agricultural value chain? Create a hub. Talk to farmers. Okay, if you within this you go to a dairy now and establish. I think there was one there anyway. There's already one there. I think there's one in Dairy. There's one in there's a place in Osun also where they produce cocoa powder also. They produce cocoa butter. I
I
can't get.
learned that I learned that there is even a law in Nigeria that prohibits exporting such raw materials directly out of Nigeria. That you have to go through a process, at least maybe minimum of 25% of the process before it can be exported from Nigeria.
That law is not
That is
effective.
about 1 or 2 years
Not.
ago.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, they still import raw cashew, raw sesame seed oil, raw what they call it,
But
raw
cashew
cocoa up to now.
can be eaten. It might not be
Those who are
cashew.
importing it
Yeah,
from us, they are using it to produce uh turn to another product. They are still importing those one. Cashew nut, cocoa bean. They are still importing cocoa bean. Only few company. I think that there's another company. I can't remember the town. I think it's in Ede or so that they are producing cocoa tea. The one the
okay.
Ileluji something they are producing cocoa butter. I think so to some extent. I think there's another one that was established along Lagos Ibadan Express. I think that was a farm. I mean, a factory there too. I think so. People will do
Yeah.
it. Is it not Nigeria
Okay.
custom? Nigeria custom will clear you. You will still export it. They will clear. In fact, they will prefer you people that are not obeying the law because that's why they make more money.
Yeah, they're importing our cassava. I mean, exporting our cassava too. Even
Raw.
though big companies like Golden Penny are now, Golden Penny is probably now the largest producer of gari now. But then they see export the raw cassava. But then some people eat raw cassava after boiling it. So it's
They
Anyway,
also use
Timlani,
it
what's your
for
own? I
agric
mean,
feed too.
Yeah, I would just agree
sir.
with the village boy.
Okay.
I would just agree with the village boy. I was about saying that the government is doing the right thing by setting up a committee, and I was just about saying that it is not just about setting a committee, because I read the news a few. I think it's been since March. They said they were going to set up a committee, and but after that, what's next? There hasn't been any statement. The only statement Wale Edu made was that Nigeria is positioned to respond to any global trade war, and this U.S. tariff is not an exception. That was what he said. So I'm not totally sure what he meant by that. And the village boy made a very important point that they set up a committee, and it's looking like it now that the first report of the committee will come out after 3 to 6 months, and the implementation will take forever, right? So the point,
Yeah.
so now that it's been almost 1 month now that Trump announced that thing, there has not been anything said after. So they know that Nigerians respond to trends, so let's just give them something, to keep quiet. And now the Nigerians have kept quiet until things become expensive, and they will be calling for the head of Tinubu again. uh, when things get unnecessarily. I just wanted to point something out regarding economics, and regarding the kind of leaders that we have. Honestly, if we can just be honest with ourselves, to elect the right people. I'm not talking about Tinubu this time. I'm talking about Buhari. Instead of Buhari inflicting that pain on people to say we want to shut down rice imports, and just to motivate or stimulate local production of rice, why can't you just impose tariff on just rice? I'm just thinking about this right now. Like, we know Trump has taken it to the to the most extreme level possible. But you can, if you want to stimulate something locally, you can it's a policy matter, right? And every other country that wants to export things to your country, they have to comply.
Mm.
If you placed a tariff on rice coming into Nigeria, it will do something quickly. It will make the rice coming from abroad more expensive. Imagine what people went through that time, sir, that there was no rice.
Yeah.
There was no rice, and the local
Yes.
rice would have been the better alternative. So I'm just thinking again
Yeah.
now that we get it all wrong almost every time. And like the village boy said, we are now celebrating having the largest refinery in West Africa, when the whole world is trying to go green. And everything is just lopsided, and Jagbajantis, and what's the name of this guy that sang Jagbajantis again? They said they have
It,
banned his song. They said
it
they
is
have banned
Abdul
and
Karim.
they said they banned his song again. That is, he
Yeah.
was talking too much about Tinubu
Yeah.
or something like that. I don't know. So there's just a
I
lot of
learned so.
things. There's just a lot of things going on. If something like this happens in Africa, in Canada, a country is targeting your economy by the way of tariffs or trade war. The prime minister doesn't necessarily have to say something to people in charge of the economy of the country, like the finance minister, like the director of economy, or people like that. It doesn't need to order them. Like they will say FG orders Kinika to go and do Kinika in Nigeria. These ones, they know that's what they are paid to do, and they respond to it swiftly. What we are supposed to be saying is like a statement straight away. This is our stand, and this is what we are doing. But for a Nigerian standard, well, they have set up a committee. Let's see how that goes.
Okay.
So and the village boy
Oh,
rightly said that this is supposed to be a wake-up call, because indeed it's been a wake-up call for Canadians. Everybody now knows that we have to
yeah.
prioritize production. We have to look for new friends, economic friends. We have to make new friends in Europe. It's just a wake-up call. But I bet if it's going to be a wake-up call to people in Africa, if they would see this as an opportunity to start something great for their country, to be not so over reliant on other countries. See what happens just by the announcement Trump made that USAID, all of those grants and awards, they are to Africa, they are gone. Imagine what's going to become of Africa. Imagine how many NGOs rely on that. If we don't have sources of, donations locally, people that could donate, that are not politicians, oh, people that, like people like Dangote, people like Femi Ote, people that are producing things in Nigeria, that are industrialists in Nigeria, and they are giving back to the society by the way of making donations to NGOs. We are not supposed to be relying on the USAID. We are not supposed to, for any reason. And it's right to cut it off because it's not doing anything for them. It's not doing
Mhm.
anything for them. So if he
All
says
right.
that he wants to cut it off, then Nigerians should look inwards and see what we can do for ourselves.
True. Thank you, Tumulai. Village boy, thank you, sir. We've
You're
spent
welcome.
exactly 1 hour now, and I want us to close. But there's an aspect of the discussion I think we would find time to discuss. It's inter-African trade. I've seen some Kenya crying because majority of the tea that form the largest part of, probably one of the largest part of Kenya's export is exported to the US. And I learned that this is going to significantly impact it. And I saw someone saying, instead of going to beg America, why not go target Nigerian market where you have over 200 million people? Even though we know that Nigeria's economy is like a small boy compared to that of the US economy. But then, what is the cost of looking inward? What is the cost of building an inter-African trade? But we know that traveling to Europe is probably more expensive. It's probably more expensive traveling to some European country from Nigeria than traveling to some African countries where you probably would even go out of Africa first before they bring you back to the African country that you are flying into. So this is they say who do us like this as Africans generally we are supposed to be brothers. We look alike. So if I go to Ghana now, they might easily assume that I'm a Nigerian if I didn't talk. The same way some Ghanaians will be on the street of Lagos and people will not know that they are not even Nigerians. So I hope our leaders would do better. We don't have much time today. I want us to close now. So just in 10 seconds, can we have your closing statements? Let's start with Playboy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Every situation can be an opportunity or a problem. So
Yep.
I think what Donald Trump is bringing to US is going to turn out to be a problem in the long run. If not, it's done quickly. That is my. I'm not a prophet of doom, but for Nigeria, it is an opportunity. Are we capable of responding to it to harness the benefit of that opportunity? We keep our finger crossed. So I will not speak any
All
ill
right.
of my country.
Thank you very much, sir.
On that note,
What is funny now?
on that note, I was in
Good.
Nigeria. I was saying Nigerians should look inward. All right, Nigerians should look inward, like the village boy said. We are not supposed to be talking down on our country, and we should see opportunity in everything. Even though that Trump is seeing opportunity in the stocks that are plummeting, right? We should see opportunities in everything, and we should not just see the opportunity. We should take hold of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Its opinion sharers will discuss social, cultural, and political issues that concern Nigeria and the global community, and today is one of it. This is a topic that impacts Nigeria, Nigerians in diaspora, and the global community as well. So that's why we brought this topic today. We are always live, almost always live, 5 p.m. Nigerian time to 6 p.m. So, but today we started a little bit late. That's why we are doing it a little bit late today. So, thank you very much for joining us. I believe this has been an impactful and a fruitful discussion that we've had. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Tumlai. We will see you next week, Saturday, by God's grace. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.